Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are focusing squarely on probably one of the biggest challenges in the modern workplace, the crisis of sustained attention. We're tearing into a stack of source material all about using focus sprints to maximize professional output.
And it really is the silent killer of productivity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone feels it, that constant pull from emails, notifications.
Context switching.
Exactly, context switching.
Yeah.
It just stops you from doing the kind of deep, meaningful work that really moves things forward. So our mission today is to distill the key insights for you.
Right.
We want to understand the structure technique of focus sprints, not just as like a life hack, but as a real discipline to boost your efficiency.
Okay, let's unpack this right away, because the impact they're talking about is, well, it's staggering. We are not talking about small gains here.
No, not at all.
Our sources have this internal data suggesting the sheer magnitude of efficiency during a good sprint is monumental. They benchmark a professional writer's output at maybe 1,000 or 2,000 words an hour,
Which is pretty good.
which is already good. But during a dedicated sprint, that rate can jump to almost 3,000 words per hour.
And a jump like that, it fundamentally changes what you can accomplish in a workday. What's so interesting is that the principle behind it is, well, it's deceptively simple.
Right. Intense work, then rest.
Dedicated, intense periods of effort followed by intentional rest. And the claim is really well supported. For these high-leverage tasks, this technique can improve your efficiency by well over 50%.
I think when a lot of people hear this, their minds probably go to one place first, the Pomodoro technique. So maybe let's start there just to ground the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, Pomodoro is the foundation for a reason. It's that classic efficiency technique. You have 25-minute work intervals, the Pomodoros, followed by a mandatory 5-minute break. And after 4 of those, you take a longer break. It works because it forces one critical rule on you.
You have to resist interruptions.
You must resist them for that 25-minute block. It gives you permission to just ignore the noise because you know a break is coming up.
But, and this is where our sources pivot pretty quickly, while that's great for getting started, it often doesn't let you get into that deep, sustained flow you need for, say, complex analysis or creative work.
Exactly.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the material digs into the actual biology behind it. Ultradian rhythms. Can you explain that concept?
Yeah, ultradian rhythms are these natural recurring cycles that our bodies go through all day. They govern our alertness, our energy, and they operate on roughly a 90 to 120-minute cycle.
Ah, right.
So the studies our sources highlight show that the human brain just works best in these high-focus bursts that match our natural cycles. So somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes.
So the 25-minute Pomodoro is basically cutting you off right as you're really getting into that flow state.
Precisely. And after that 90 to 120-minute intense period, your brain requires an equally mandatory rest, usually about 20 to 30 minutes for, cognitive rejuvenation.
And if you ignore that, that's where you get the classic mid-afternoon crash.
That's the burnout. That's the diminishing returns you feel when you try to just power through a 5-hour work session. It doesn't work.
So the 90-minute focus technique is really just about aligning your schedule with your own biology. It makes sense that, high achievers like Tony Schwartz use these blocks for huge projects, but how does a listener figure out their optimal 90-minute blocks?
That's a great question, and it's a strategic step the sources really emphasize. You have to map your personal energy curve.
So pay attention to when you feel sharpest.
Exactly. Instead of just looking at the clock, notice when you feel your best. For a lot of people, that's mid-morning, maybe 9:30 to 11:30. For night owls, it might be 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
So you just track it for a week or so.
Yeah, a simple method is to just track it. For 1 week, every hour, just jot down your energy level. You'll start to see the periods where you feel you need the least caffeine, the least, push. Those are your windows.
That brings us right to implementation, because once you've found your peak time, you can't just show up and start working. These focus sprints need careful, almost surgical planning. So let's move from the science to the practical. What are the non-negotiable steps you have to take before you even hit start on the timer?
Okay, so there are 3 crucial steps.
Hmm?
The first is setting specific goals. And this means you have to get away from vague ideas like work on the proposal.
Right.
Instead, the goal has to be quantifiable. Something like complete the competitive analysis section and draft 3 key risk statements. That clarity creates urgency. It gives you a finish line.
And urgency is the enemy of procrastination. Okay, what's step 2?
Second is establishing a time frame. Now, the individual work session might be 90 minutes, but the overall sprint usually lasts about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
And that 2-week structure is critical. It's short enough to maintain that intense focus. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's long enough to get something really substantial done.
But a 2-week block? That sounds like a massive commitment. For our listeners who work in teams, how do the sources address the coordination costs that creates? If I'm head down on one goal, what about everyone else?
That is an excellent point, and the sources hit it with a third step, choosing the right tasks. To manage that cost, the rule is, well, it's pretty brutal.
You have to say no to things.
You have to say no. During the sprint, you only select tasks that directly contribute to that one main goal. This means you actually create a not-to-do list. If a meeting or a request doesn't move the needle for the sprint goal, it gets politely deferred.
So you manage the coordination cost by making the goal crystal clear to everyone.
Exactly. You're essentially saying for the next 2 weeks, this is the only thing that matters.
And that focus on high-leverage outcomes is where this connects individual productivity to the whole organization's strategy. This isn't just for a solo writer trying to hit a word count.
Absolutely not. This disciplined approach is used by high-performing teams everywhere, software dev, marketing, hardware design, and the outcomes. Faster time to market, higher quality work. They prove the structure works.
Okay, let's get strategic and talk about the power schedule technique, which builds on these rhythms. This is about making sure the tasks you do in those precious 90-minute blocks are the right ones.
The power schedule is all about strategic alignment. You have to put your toughest, most critical, high-impact tasks, the stuff that needs the most brain power, into your peak energy hours.
So you're maximizing your best moments.
Exactly. If you're a product manager, you schedule the complex problem solving for that morning peak, and then for the rest of the day.
You do the easier stuff.
You strategically place the lighter, administrative work answering routine emails, expense reports, doing your natural energy troughs, maybe right after lunch.
And the breaks are just as important.
Crucially, the sources are clear. They have to be active rest, not passive. Don't just check your phone, get up, walk, stretch, grab some water. You need to let your brain shift into a recovery state.
So it's not just minimizing external distractions, but managing your internal cognitive load. I mean, that sounds almost military in its discipline. Is there a danger of people overscheduling and burning out?
That's a huge pitfall. And the sources are very clear. The discipline is in the rest just as much as it is in the work. If you skip those 20-minute breaks, if you push past that 120-minute limit, you're violating the rhythm and you will accelerate burnout.
It's like interval training.
It's exactly like interval training. You can't sprint 100 meters over and over without recovery time.
Which brings us back to that peak performance metaphor, comparing this to an athlete. Like Usain Bolt generating over 1,000 pounds of force. Professionals have to channel that same focused intensity.
And alternating work and rest just mirrors how sprinters train for sustained, high-level performance over a whole season, not just a single race.
We see that rapid progress really clearly in the real-world example they give of Scrum teams. The sources talk about a team that made a really smart adjustment.
Yeah, they talk about a software team that started with standard 2-week sprints, but they noticed that stakeholder feedback was lagging, that they were waiting too long to pivot.
So they changed it.
They strategically switched to 1-week sprints, and that allowed for much faster feedback loops, more agile responses. They could adapt better.
Let's look at their backlog items because it shows the kind of planning this needs. They had goals like setting up servers, establishing a build server, and implementing a distributed service bus.
Right.
For those of us not running a software team, what's a simple way to explain that in terms of a business outcome?
It's just technical jargon for building the fundamental plumbing that lets different parts of a complex system talk to each other. In a simpler context, you could compare it to a goal like automate the data handoff between marketing and sales.
So it's a core infrastructure task.
A core task that unlocks future capabilities. The point is, the sprint isolates one complex foundational goal and dedicates all available resources to it.
And the sources show how effective that was. By the second sprint, they shifted focus immediately based on that faster feedback. They were already showing top-selling products on the homepage and addressing stakeholder concerns.
And that iterative loop is the magic of the focus sprint at a team level. It shifts the organization from slow, generalized effort to rapid focused problem solving.
Okay, let's move from the method to the machinery. Let's talk about the technology that makes this all possible. Effective tools are obviously key here.
The tools really act as the central nervous system for the sprint. We saw 3 big ones highlighted: Jira is essential when the workflow is really complex, which is typical in tech development.
Tracking all the details.
For managing that structured backlog and making sure nothing gets missed. Then you have Trello, which is much simpler.
More visual.
Very visual. It uses those Kanban board cards moving from to-do to done. It's perfect for teams that just need quick visual clarity.
And the third one.
And finally, Asana. It's more versatile, and it works really well for, say, marketing or design teams running sprints that need creative feedback and approval workflows, not just raw code.
The sources also point out this exciting technological trend, the integration of machine learning and AI into these platforms. How does that help?
This is the future of optimization, really. AI promises smarter planning with minimal effort. So, for instance, the system might analyze your team's past performance.
And then make suggestions.
And then automatically suggest the right tasks for the right team member at the right time, minimizing bottlenecks before they even happen.
But with all this advanced software, what about the basics?
The fundamentals are still absolutely crucial. Even if AI is optimizing your backlog, you still need a reliable timer to enforce the work and, more importantly, the breaks.
Right.
And simple things like low-tech reminders to keep the sprint goal visible and top of mind. Success really depends on that combination of the tested technique and reliable tools.
So what does this all mean for you, whether you're leading a team or just trying to manage your own overloaded schedule? It seems like focus sprints offer this disciplined, robust framework for boosting productivity, leading to measurable improvements by, aligning your work with your natural cognition.
And the strategic takeaway is the power of iterative progress. We see proof in the author's own success, completing 12 major projects in 12 months. We see it with tech giants like Uber and Slack using Google's design sprint framework.
So that's a mindset shift.
It's a complete mindset shift. The core value for you, the listener, is using these short, structured cycles to drastically enhance your adaptability and your skill development. It's about focused, iterative progress instead of slow, generalized effort.
So given that Ultradian Rhythms suggests our most productive blocks are 90 to 120 minutes long, here is something for you to consider. What would happen if you committed to setting aside just one single, dedicated, distraction-free 90-minute sprint tomorrow morning?
Just one?
Just one. Aligned only with your single most important professional goal. Imagine the high-leverage move that one block could enable, and how quickly you might start experiencing that 50% efficiency jump we talked about.